Today I'm going to talk a little bit about my image that I call Parable of the Soils, and how I came about making it. When I first photographed this rust spot, the first thing I saw in flipping around in Photoshop was this sickle. Definitely looked like, stalks of grain and a sun, and I thought, oh, this is great. This is the Parable of the Soils. And then I began to see other elements in it that I thought matched that parable really well. That's what I see in it. Other people might just like it as it is. It's got interesting color and texture and all that kind of stuff. First thing I did when I when I started working with this in Photoshop was I had an image that was about this big and then an image that was about this big. And I really wanted a long, skinny image, a 1-to-2 ratio. And so I combined the two and came up with this image, which is the combined image. Now, this image has already been, the color has been enhanced, the vibrancy, the clarity a little bit in Lightroom. And so I'm going to show you what I do after that in Photoshop. So the first thing I do is retouch the layer, and that's a very subtle thing that you almost have to see at 100%, and so it's not going to look like much at that point. But this layer, you can tell, clicking on and off, I really like this because to me it was a sickle, and that matches this parable, that matches a lot of the parables that Yeshua was talking about when he talked about the harvest and that kind of thing. And so I liked the idea of the sickle. I didn't like the composition of it, and so I began to move it and do something a little different with it. So this was one of the steps that I took in doing that. Another thing I wanted to do was to bring in kind of a flow that went this direction, and I wanted this to be the rocky way, the rocky soil, and I wanted that to show up a little bit more, so I just added some more rocks to it. And then you'll see here, I put the sickle down here, flipped it around and turned it the direction I wanted it. At that point, I felt like it was blending in a little bit too much, and I wanted to add some contrast or darkness to it, and so that's what I did here. Then I began to just continue to add more of the bigger rocks along this way. I didn't want to overdo it, but I just felt like to have that, it needed that. At this point, it just began to look a little flat to me, and so I bumped up the contrast on this level. I don't know if you can see it. It was pretty subtle, but I did that. And then here, I felt like there was a lot of color there that just wasn't coming out. I don't know if I didn't bring it out in Lightroom or what, so I went ahead and selectively brought that up in this next layer with an adjustment layer. See the difference here as I click it on and off. And then I burned and dodged. The first thing I did was take down this corner just a little bit, and then on the sun here I wanted that to really kind of shine, and so you'll see I brought the halo, made the halo around it just a little brighter. Click it on and off, and there you'll see it. And so that is the Parable of the Soils. This piece could be a great conversation starter to hang in a home or in a commercial place of business. I also think it's great just as an abstract piece. So that's Parable of the Soils. Thank you.